This is where Ethnikids comes in to jump in and say, okay, let's see how we can bridge this gap and try to fill this void. Tell us about Ethnikids and the work that it does.
So Ethnikids is an online bookstore, and we specialize in children's books in all South African languages. And how that started is myself and my friends were just frustrated that we couldn't find easy access to material in all South African languages, and hence we started the bookstore to make sure that there's easy access for as many parents as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, you said something earlier talking about as a nation, our attitude towards reading, it's not the greatest. We're not reading as much. We're not encouraging reading as much. With it being an online store, especially in this digital age where kids are interacting with technology so much, are you finding that the children are now able to kind of lean more towards reading, and families are also inclined to want to create an environment where literacy is something that is encouraged?
Yeah, we find the good thing about COVID is that people are a lot more open to shopping online. So it's working well for us that it is an online bookstore. And we are seeing, I mean, we're still in business. We started in 2016 and business has been great. So there are definitely people that are interested in reading, and particularly in reading in their mother tongues.
I think especially when you're talking about reading in the mother tongue, I remember, I think it's Nali Bali. A couple of years ago, I had a conversation with them and they were talking about, they've got these stories that they share, Kasi Zulu, Kasi or whatever it is, to try and encourage just learning in your own language. Is this something that we're seeing people are kind of leaning towards in this culture? And it's like if you are able to speak English, you're progressing. If you're just speaking your mother tongue, you're a little bit regressing. And not encouraging people that are not privileged or in those areas where it's become a first language even at home. Are people still leaning into their home languages?
People are leaning into their home languages. In fact, there was a study that was done last year where it was found that 65% of South Africans would like to read in their mother tongue. So it's about us making sure that there's access to material and that we are writing our stories in our mother tongues so that as many children are included as possible. Reading is not for the elite few, it's for everybody. So it's important that everybody has access to the material that's needed. Okay,
Kumo, before we wrap up our time together, there are families that are listening to this conversation. There's a mom, there's a dad, there's an aunt, there's a grandmother, and they are thinking, oh my goodness, yes, we don't read Kohai. What can they do today to create an environment where they encourage literacy, where they encourage reading? What are some of the steps that they can take as a family to ensure that for the sake of the children, they are actually reading more and more?
Yeah, I think firstly, parents, we need to remember that children don't just do what we say, but they do what we do. So you need to model the behavior that you'd like to see in your children. And then also don't allow a lack of access to resources stop you. You can read everyday things. On the way to school, read the street signs. You can read the cereal box in the morning. And then it's also very important to incorporate writing skills, because we need to teach children how to express their ideas, and even little things like jotting down the shopping list for mom. That's very helpful to children. And then we also need to tell them stories to grow their speaking as well as listening skills, as well as their comprehension skills as well. So engage them when you're telling a story. Ask them, what was the story about? What do you think happened to one of the characters? So that children are involved in that and they're able to improve on their critical reasoning skills as well.
I love what you're saying, even if it's reading like the cereal box, as long as you're reading, read the street signs, read Kuranda, whatever it is that's around. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Kumo. Before I let you go, where can people find out more about Ethnikids?
Oh, you can follow us on social media at ethnikids_co, or visit our website www.ethnikids.africa.
100% Kumo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. TMS fam, I don't know about you, but you know what? It's making me feel like I need to do better in ensuring that there is an environment of reading. Maybe as a parent right now, you might be thinking, I want to encourage my kids that they pick up books, they pick up the magazines, pick up the newspapers, and just go on and read. Ethnikids is doing some amazing work in uplifting South Africa's literacy landscape, and you can check them out on social media. Their passion is a shining example of how storytelling can transform lives, and reminds us that a love for reading starts with small steps right at home. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back just after this.